Well, hello everyone. Just having a little walk. Um, so yeah, I have this neighbor and everything, and I really do try to look out for people, and I have weird random advice that people don't ask for. I like to spot things out. I'm a weird problem solver that the occult summoned in, and yeah. Now that I'm balancing out, um, there's a neighbor and everything, and I see people underneath the boot of the demons and whatnot, even though they don't think it, right? And I try to help them out, but, I can't save everyone. Reminds me of a situation like people that live in Appalachia or something, and some place where people go disappearing. And there's all these other people that are like, oh my God, we're going to take a trip. It's going to be a vacation. It's going to be nice. We're going to go to the Appalachian Mountains, and then it ends up being like really scary and shit. So like people that know, right? And I'm like, yeah, like she's taking meds and everything, these mental health meds, like that. Like I said, the demons have her head under their boot or neck, however you want to say it. She has a bad diet and she eats these things, and it's like my last soda was like a year and a half ago. It was kind of stupid, because then I could have actually all the high fructose corn syrup out of my body by now, but I still have a few months left. So that soda is still being broken down in my body. But I've been steering clear of these foods and whatnot, and feeling better, being healthier, needing less RXs. This is very good stuff, and I'm trying to share this kind of more natural advice, because it's like, yeah, you people don't need this stuff, and you really got to watch your food, because there's no avoiding all the poisons and parasites. But what you could do is treat yourself to cleansings, and on a regular basis, because you can't avoid it. And anyway, and she's like always complaining about her back being fucked up and her knee being fucked up, and it's like, yeah, well, I mean, I offered her add her to my gym membership for like $10 a month, and pay for it. She's like, nah. It's like, man, now I know how frustrating I was, though, I guess, right? Because when people were tossing me information like I do to other people, especially whether it was more random or they steered the conversation in that way to make it not seem so random, but they like steered it. So anyway, yeah, so I guess I get to experience that. It just gets a little frustrating. I don't want to hang around someone that's eating horribly unhealthy. They're complaining about their body. This isn't all the time, but I'm like, hey, I've been learning all these interesting things over the past few years. Let me toss some random tidbits, and it might help you. She's like, and fine. I guess I could be. I was like that too. So there's that. Yeah, and I was thinking about like the New World Order stuff. There's like these 33-degree Masons that get their memo every month. And that's the first time I heard of it. And I was like, oh, they just get their memo a month? Oh, that sounds so lame. They're like making a script and everything, and then they're handing it out. Then I heard a recent one, and it was like, we get a script of what's going on. We get stuff to vote on, and it's like, oh, that, and maybe those votes are legit. But is there like some checking system too? Because maybe they just give the illusion that there's a vote, and they trick everyone into thinking that, oh, this is what we voted for, right? Because that's what they do on a mass scale to others. So it would make sense that they would do it to their own fucking members, right? And yeah, the rich people do bring up a good point. They're like, well, how do we ensure our wealth and survival because of our security forces, that would be protecting us? What would, you know, and yeah, that's why they're making the AI robots, right? So they could replace even the security people. And that's why the security people, they think they're going to have a place, and it's like, nope. These are demons that work on betrayal, and maybe they've reached a point of so super evil that you just gotta replace them with some lesser evils, because they always talk about the lesser evils, and it's like, well, maybe we should apply that. They've been speaking it into reality, right? So, and put some not so pussy demons in there. There's plenty of them. I mean, I admire the pranksters totally 100%. Seems demonic, but it seems like a good way to get your rocks off. And there's plenty of camping stories that Mr. Ballin and I forget these other ones that I watch, but they tell these accounts of people, right, going camping usually, and there was someone circling our tent or something, and it's like that, like it seems like 80-90% of the time. Actually, like, it seems like it's 90% of the time. But it seems like it's most of the time. All right. And yeah, that doesn't always end up like that. But, there's some demons that don't harm humans otherwise, other than scaring the shit out of them. There's so many stories of, because they're just feeding on your fucking energy. Or, another alternative, like, I mean, they could still be feeding on your energy, but they're protecting a location too. So they're protecting a location. They want you to go because this whole planet isn't, just the humans, because there's others here, whether they're experiments by other humans or the lesser aliens or the greater aliens, the good aliens, the bad ones. The good ones seem to make us, and the bad ones seem to, like, detach a child's head and put it on, like a dog or something, or a spider, or some really fucked up stuff. Where it just wasn't meant to be. And then you don't want to be mad at the creatures, but, like, just, be mad at the makers of the system, the perverse system, I was thinking the greatest thing people could fucking do for the revolution, especially for us spiritual people, is just don't go towards the light. Don't go towards the light, and don't come back to Earth. Go somewhere else and starve them of the souls. Because they have everyone thinking it's a prison, because that's what, fucking psychological warfare, demonic entities, do. They lie, manipulate about everything. So that's really not necessarily the point of this place, but they could use that, Earth school system as it's actually a prison, and then they'd lie to everyone, and then they're like, yeah, it's a prison, we might as well be the security officers, and just, yeah. Anyway, well, okay, it's a prison, so they shouldn't get too upset, and about just all right, don't go towards the light like you're taught, and go somewhere else. All right, it's not the end if you don't go towards the light, but they trick people into going towards the light. So why don't you go somewhere else, and your loved ones will find you eventually. At some point in your lifetimes, your many lifetimes. But yeah, why don't you starve them, and then it'll be like their fucking video games that they make, right? Where there's like 32 players on each side, and it's max server because it's only handles 64 players, and then it's at the peak, playtime, part of the day, and then a few hours pass, and then it's 16 out of 17 people, and then a few more hours passes, and then it's 4 against 4 or 5 against 4 or whatever, and then eventually there's no one in there, and just why don't you do that shit, so for those spiritual people. As for the atheists out there, you don't believe it now, but it may seem like a dream, but just don't go towards the light and pick a different place, if it's such a prison, right? So I think they need to train and trick people a lot, and lie. And that seemed like a good idea. I'm like, oh yeah, the New World Order, Illuminati, Freemasons folks, they get a memo. And that, when I first heard that, I just only heard that. And I was like, oh, that sounds like a script. But what if they give the illusion of voting? Like what if they get that's what they do on the mass scale, so to the general population. So it's like, huh. And then they have these demons that are going to totally betray everyone else. They're going to totally betray everyone else, even other demons. And you guys are just like letting them, and it's like, well, maybe you guys should check those, really quick, and install some, demons that don't always two-face and betray others, or not. I mean, whatever. The security people are helping facilitate the production of the Terminator robots that are going to be used for the very controllable security force. So then they don't need to worry about other humans. But then, all the other humans should be like, fuck you. And then they try to subdue people with further lies. They're like, look, the future is supposed to be all cyborg stuff, and this is the way that it goes, and we should be honored. We should be honored to be a part of blah, 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 blah. Humans have been around for a very long time, although, height and skin colors have changed. But yeah, and humans aren't going to go anywhere unless you are stupid enough to believe in, just the group that manipulates and lies all the time. If you're just stupid along to go along with it, and that everyone at the bottom is just going to, we're going to be sacrificed to the ones at the top that are going to totally, kill our kingdoms that we built and ours. And they will say that we are one of them, but they truly do not believe that. They are just saying it just to fucking get people on board. And again, it's like, man, it's amazing how they have any loyalty, whatsoever. The biggest threat to national security is definitely the bankers. I mean, that's just facts. I'm just, honest here. I will never have a lawsuit because they want their cover-ups, and I want to talk about this shit, so I'll never have a fucking settlement. So they're just going to have to do their, like, I'm a crazy person bullshit. That is really losing its power, too, because a lot of people are waking up. So people will be like, oh, man, that's not so crazy. It's like, I know, right? As people, want to believe or not, I seem to be connected to Mercury, my greater self. And I'm not a trickster. It's actually other people. You see, everything is tainted, and I really feel the trickster part. I enjoy a good prank, but other than that, I'm not trying to trick anyone. It seems like they're trying to do a rerun of the end times, as always. Because that's their number one, is reruns. They do the entertainment and then the rerun. Look, have you seen Stranger Things, for a fourth time yet? Go do that and order some fucking Domino's or whatever the fuck. DoorDash. Anyway. Yeah, so it seems like people get twisted around, and oh my god. It's really something. It is really something. I'm sorry for lashing out at everyone, too. I'm not a perfect person. I'm going through extreme, psychological warfare and artificial ESP, direct energy weapon shit, and then their actual psychics, and then the bad magic, and people roofie possessing me with God knows what the fuck. And just on the psychological warfare that started when I was a child, even not only just the recent stuff. I turned out pretty good. I turned out really, really fucking good. I turned out amazing. I know. Thank you. Although I could still be a little bothersome at times. There was a little fairy insect on me. And yeah, that's some bullshit. Yeah, they're making like, a bunch of insects and everything. They're teaching people to like, oh, go eat a ton of meat. And then they're like, oh my god, they're eating a ton of meat. Well, what do? Well, let's secretly make some bioweapons and put them into ticks, I suspect, and put it on the population. It's like, what? Well, like, if you want people to breed less, you could just fucking, V for Vendetta it and be anonymous and just, look, we are the New World Order, and we're going to start murdering you motherfuckers if you don't start coming in more mouths and butts, and hold off on the vaginas. All right, stop breeding, because we're going to start doing fucked up things. Instead of just secretly doing it. That would be more badass too, right? And it fucking probably would work too, because people get so worked up. They're like, oh my God. And they've been trained to get so worked up when they see something on the television. So yeah, I think it would totally work. And it would just be more blunt, and, then you don't need to worry about all this, like, we put this in code for, to avoid karma, but did we really avoid bad karma? Like, we have our made-up systems, but, a lot of people seem to like hell except us. And yeah, it seems like the lesser offenders are able to have more fun in hell, while the worst offenders do not. And that's why they want to try to drag as many of them with them as possible. So yeah. And it makes total sense, though, is the thing. I didn't really believe in any of this shit until fucking a couple years ago. 2 years and a few months ago. It's been a mind-blowing experience. It's nice to be awake. I could still struggle to be present, I don't know if it's like I'm around an energy vampire. I don't know if the previous evil magic is still working. I don't think it is. I've done many, mini rituals. I mean, it's not like they take a whole lot of time. I mean, some can. No, I didn't sacrifice anything. They're just mini, no sacrifice anything rituals where I just tried to invoke my own magic. Although I haven't been as playful as a child lately. This past year and a half or so, I haven't been that playful, and I think that's affecting my magic. I know it is the thing. Not that I can't produce magic, it's just a little harder, and it's like, I'm sure superheroes have experienced these things before, and I've experienced these things before with my ups and downs in my life. I stopped dancing for a little while. It's been a little more than a year. But whatever, I've done that like numerous times in my life. Maybe almost a dozen, like 8 or 9 times. I've done that. Dance for a few years, don't dance. Dance for a few years, don't dance. For a few years, dance for a few years, don't dance for a few years. I've had these cycles. Yeah, yeah. So I'm also going to try to control less too, because I'm just a messenger, and I shouldn't get things go to my head. Like people could easily let things go to their head in my particular position and ranking and all that. But I will still point out that it is the bankers causing your problems, because that's what it is. I mean, I'm adjudicating stuff for the people here, so I'm sorry, not sorry if some bankers don't like that. They think they have everything on lockdown, and maybe so, and maybe not. We'll see. Yeah, so they want to make me some controlled opposition, which I'm not really into, but which is why I'm like, maybe just, guide the revolution, because, you put that behind any person, and they're just going to get psychically attacked and attempted to be hijacked, possibly cloned and controlled that way, and then they would kill them and then replace them with a clone, and people be like, none the wiser, because this is standard practice that people don't believe in, but but it is, and the revolution should be an idea, not a person, right? Because ideas are invincible, and people could be fucked with and replaced at times, depending on the evil's level of technology, because only evil people do that shit. And I don't know about executing people too. Like, I had a take them alive thing, because you know what? You could always get the wrong person, and if they could just make lookalikes and no lookalikes and all sorts of lookalikes, then maybe you take them alive because you're not quite sure if that person is that person. Like maybe they're just a copy and they uploaded their consciousness to a PC and then they grew another one of them and then uploaded that conscious. So that one totally believes that who they say they are, but they're not. And so you got to factor these things in, and extreme levels of discernment proceeding forward. They do like to get people worked up in emotion and make a decision quickly and a judgment quickly, and oh no, let's grab our pitchforks and torches and fight amongst ourselves, and yeah, maybe a little less of that and a little more actual righteousness, even on the demonic side. You guys need to learn how to play a little bit nicer together, and I think there's ways to do that where, and just better management, really. But it seems really on the dark demonic side, it's like they have some dark demonic demons that are working their security and everything, and it's like, yeah, we're really tight. They're only playing that game just until they can replace you with some Terminator. And then the moment they can, you're fucking getting, your head crushed or a bullet, in your face. Like, it's so obvious. And then the security could just fucking, divvy up the money a little better, or maybe a lot better than they're doing it now. And then hopefully the nice sized chunk, all right, not too much, all right, but the nice sized chunk you take would be many more times than they ever fucking paid you. Right? I know. It's like, why are they even listening to this stupid ass bullshit? Doesn't coming in more butts. There's people around here. Doesn't coming in more butts and mouths, to try to, produce less people. It's like, well, you share the planet with other species that are kind of advanced, and they would put themselves on the top of the food chain, and so you guys need to factor that stuff in. And that's why other places could be so scary and protected, because this is a shared planet. It's a shared playground. And of course there's some douchebag kids that are like, yeah, this is our playground, what are you doing here? When someone else comes up and is like, you got to follow our stuff, otherwise you can't play here. It's everyone's playground. Shut the fuck up. Right? But of course, and then you apply that to kids, and then you apply that to adults, and it's like, oh, it makes so much fucking sense. I know, right? A lot of things have been making sense lately. Even if people don't agree with me, I'm kind of tired of that. It's like, fine. I'm like, leave stuff up to the families, because you pretty much solve like 95 or so % of your problems. And people are like, how dare you? And I'm like, I'm not trying to do that. What the hell? But that doesn't mean that child sacrifices should be a thing too. I'm just saying the weird, consensual stuff. Or people would argue that it's not consenting, but we all make decisions throughout our life that shape us into who we are. And being really young doesn't change that fact at all, ever. Or being really old doesn't change it. It's just something that is. Yeah. So yeah, I think I got everything off my chest. This has been a nice little rant. You folks have a lovely, lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Peace the fuck out.